All right, so today is day 5. Time is flying by, but we've had some pretty crappy weather, and so haven't made as much progress necessarily as I'd like to by this point, but we're still a long ways from the finish line, so we got time. So we were back outside today. It's kind of spitting snow a little bit, but we're going to get started with Taya here. All right, I think I'll go ahead and send her to the right. A little extra pressure because she turned her butt. She's been pretty good coming out, bringing her out of the stall, putting her back out here was great. Didn't catch her, I just ran her out here. She's actually been kind of coming up to the fence to me and stuff. Right here, she's pretty reactive. Probably because it's kind of snowing and it's better. She did that pretty well. Ask her to stop. She caught it, but she did the wrong action based on what I was asking. Ask her to stop. Okay, that's not too bad. I like that she faced up. She thought about it. Ask her to stop. Well, that time I changed it up a little bit just because she kind of immediately spun like that. I asked her to go back the other direction. So I'm still kind of doing the opposite. It's just that she was doing the opposite. So when I do the opposite, it's back to the same thing, if that makes any sense. She wants to stop so she can poop there, but it's a good opportunity for her to realize that she can walk and poop at the same time. All right, ask her to stop. Got nothing there. Ask her to go the other way. She turns her butt. And more pressure. Ask her to stop. Send her the other direction. I like that she's thinking. She didn't quite make the right choice. Notice that I'm asking her to stop and change directions pretty often. A lot of people will do this groundwork and they'll just have their horse go in circles and circles and circles, and then they'll change directions once after 5 minutes of that. When your horse is just going around in a circle, it's not really learning a lot, unless, maybe later on you're working on collection and body shape and some different things. But really, better, much better. Really, at this point, your horse is not learning much if they're just going around. It's the change of directions is where they're starting to learn something. Now, I want you to notice what happened over here. She started getting more concerned about what Braveheart was doing than what I was doing. And so she kind of lost the plot a little bit because she thought she needed to pay more attention and react to Braveheart rather than reacting to me. So she got herself in a little bit of bind. Check, check. All right, so for some reason the last video didn't record, and I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it's because the phone is so cold, but anyway, it is day 5, and I just did about 15 minutes with Taya. We did a little bit of groundwork both directions, and she's getting a little bit better at it. And then she stopped over here and gave me really good focus for a long time. Just about froze to death standing here waiting on it. But I just waited for a lick and a chew there, and then left and restarted the video and came back in, and here we are. But I think that is so important to wait for those licks and chews in those situations, because especially with a horse like her, but really with every horse, she's getting to the point where she understands the game. She understands how to face up and she understands how to go and stop, but she's doing it all with a lot of tension held in, and she's just making herself do it. There's no relaxation and just like, oh, I get it, and moving and doing it. And that's evidenced by the fact that it took her so long, probably, I don't know, 20 minutes to lick and chew. And 20 minutes may not sound like that much, but when it's freezing out here, it's a lot. But anyway, she finally licked and chewed. She got that full reward of me leaving the pen. And now we're going to do a little bit more. So, okay. Now she's set up to go left. So I'm going to go ahead and ask her to go right. She turns away. More pressure. Ask her to stop. And ask her to go left. I like that she's focusing on me there. That was good. Love how low her head is. Asked her to stop, and instead I can't talk, sorry. Instead, she sped up and turned her butt to me. So she's really bad at stopping that direction. She's a little bit better stopping this way. You see she stepped under with her inside hind foot right there. I really like that. She faced up. A lot of good things right there. I ask her to go this way though, especially when I ask her to stop on this direction. She has a really hard time rolling her hind end through and facing me on this side. See, like that? She really wants to set me up in the other eye. She really doesn't want me in this eye, and she definitely doesn't want to face me with this eye. See what I mean? That time, though, she knew something was coming. She didn't really try to commit to that quite the same as before. See there? She wanted to do the same thing again, but she goes, no, I know I'm not supposed to do that. So she's learning. Anytime she's learning, we're in a good spot. There. She goes, I'm really not comfortable with this, but I know this is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm gonna get through it. There we go. Good. Keep going. See how she gets a little locked up. And she's gonna get more pressure for doing that. So one thing I was saying in the video before, much better. I love that. I'm going to go ahead and ask her to stop. Better. At least she came to a stop there. Ask her to go the other direction. She turns her butt to me. So we're going to have to work on that. That may take a while. That's obviously a pretty ingrained habit that she's going to have to break. What I was saying in the last video that didn't come out is, a lot of people, much better right there. She's really getting good on that side. A lot of people, I keep trying to get this thought out and keep interrupting myself. People will just do groundwork. They'll come out and just have their horse do 20 circles in a row, and they never change directions. And then maybe they'll change directions once and do it 20 circles the other way. When your horse is just going around you, you're not really accomplishing much, unless like that situation right there where she's trying to turn back against the fence and I'm actively keeping her going. But if you're just trailing your horse around like this, you're not really accomplishing a whole lot. It's in the direction changes where you're accomplishing something, because that's where you have to actually ask the horse, stop, go the other direction. So you could do the same number of circles, but do a direction change over and over and over, every half circle, every full circle, every 1.5 circles. And you're going to get a lot of benefit versus doing the exact same number of circles, the exact same amount of time trained, but only doing one direction change the entire time. You're not going to get much benefit. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and ask her to change direction. Now notice she had a hard time rolling in. Make the right choice here. Oh, no, she thought about it, but she didn't make the right choice. So quite a bit of pressure to make the wrong thing hard type of situation. Now there she thought, okay, I remember. All I have to do is turn in and face him, and he goes away. I know how this works. And I said, no, actually, yes, turning in and facing me is how you make the pressure go away if I've asked for it. But she doesn't just get to decide when we're going to be done. stop, and then she turns in and faces me like here. Then she gets that little bit of a break. Good, but I don't want to give her a full break until she does a nice stop on the other side and disengages and faces me from the other direction. Love that send off. She was very sure that that left hand, left point meant go left. Good. Now, this is the direction I really need her to yield her hind end. Not do that. A lot of pressure there. She's really getting it on this side, which is great. The only thing she's not doing right now is yielding the hind end right here. No. So that time I actually kept her going the same direction, because as soon as I asked for that stop, she just turned right to the fence. So I just did the opposite of what she was doing, which is actually go the same direction we were already going. No. A lot of pressure there. Give her another opportunity. There we go. It's a little bit better. No pressure. Now I'm going to go ahead and ask her to go to the right. You got to go. And that's the wrong thing. So you might be asking, well, why is it so important that they face you on this side? Well, I mean, why can't you just, she's doing it on the other side, why can't you just progress and go catch her? And or you could say, well, if you had the lead rope on, you could hold her in this side and make her do that. Well, the reason it's important, better, for her to do this off lead rope. Good. Couple things that was beautiful, by the way. A couple of things have to happen. Her brain has to actually connect the neurons and fire and tell her muscles how to do what her brain knows her body needs to do. Connecting the dots through all that stuff is what's going to keep you safe. So if I had a lead rope and I just forced her to do it, I'm not actually connecting the dots between the brain telling her body what's going to get her out of the pressure, okay? That's why I want to deal with this all off lead as long as I can, and before I love how low her head's going right there, before I put the lead rope. So let's talk about her head coming down right there a little bit. So when a horse is traveling in the same direction that its brain is going in, so if you think about if the horse is traveling to water, let's say, and it's thinking water, I want to drink water, and the water is right there and it's going, its body and its brain are both going in the same direction, its head's going to naturally lower down. Why is that? It's because the horse is going to drive through with its body because it's feeling it. It wants to go there. The head and neck are going to naturally lower down. If the horse is having to be pushed in a direction it doesn't really want to go, like its brain is thinking over there, but we're artificially making it go this direction, its head's going to come up. So when you see that she's lowering her head, like right there, you know that her mind and body are starting to go into the same direction and she's relaxing a little bit. Very good. Okay, ask her to stop. Yeah, it wasn't the best stop ever, but she went the new direction pretty good. I'm gonna ask her to stop. She sped up instead. She turns her butt. So, like I say, that might take a while to break, but we're not moving on until we break that habit. Better on this side. She gets that momentary release. You can see she really doesn't want to release to this side because she knows that she's not good on this side. She knows she gets more pressure because she's not willing to do what she needs to do on this side, which is yield that hind end and face up correctly to get rid of the pressure. So she's trying just not to get into that situation. Well, this is a good thing because it means that we're getting through to her brain that she's not doing something correct. And we just have to eliminate all the possibilities until she does the right thing. Okay. Go ahead and ask her to stop on this side. Good. She's learned at least not to turn into the fence anymore. We eliminated that. But she's not quite yielding that hind end yet. And most of the time she's not. Yep, she's still turning her butt right there. I like how she's coming through there. She's learning the game. She just really does not want to yield her hind end on this side. That was a little bit better. It took her a while to finally figure out how to face up there, but she did finally find it. That was pretty funny, actually. Okay, I'm gonna keep going with a few more of these. I was trying to decide whether I want to wait for Licking and Chew here, whether I want to send her left the way she was already going because she's actually set up more to go right, or do I want to send her to the right to reinforce that, hey, you did the right thing? And I think I'm going to send her to my right. Like I said, it's going to reinforce that, yes, when you came around and you stopped, if you'll get straightened up, in this case over straight, but if you'll at least straighten up, it'll be a whole lot easier for you to go to the right the next thing I'm going to ask. So I'm going to reinforce that, yes, you did the right thing. It was a little nutty, a little crazy, but eventually she did the right thing, which is to get face on and be ready to go either direction. She's getting confused. See how badly she does not want to yield that side? She did a 270-degree turn when all she had to do was a 90-degree turn. That's how much she does not want to yield that side. See, she doesn't even want to get into that situation now. There's some nice licking and chewing. Her head's starting to come down. She's moving out a lot nicer than she was last few days, huh? All right, I'm gonna yield that hind end. Better. And she comes through. Very nice. That's the start of it. If you remember, you can poop and walk at the same time. If you remember back to just a little bit ago when she wasn't even yielding on the left side very well, that right there, the way she yielded on that right side is the way she was yielding on the left side earlier. So we're making progress. Good. She gets stopped. She figures out she needs to go the opposite direction. Just remember, I never want to tell her stop. Right? If I tell her stop, then I'm compressing all of her anxieties down inside her because horses naturally get away from predators through movement, right? So if she has anxieties, she needs to be allowed to move. But I'm going to offer her the opportunity to stop. I'm going to say, hey, you can stop. And she comes to a stop. Beautiful. Now, how she comes to a stop is another thing. So I'm going to ask her to go to the right. And next time, she's going to think, man, I should probably get ready to go to the right, right? But if she doesn't stop, if I ask her to stop, give her that opportunity, and she doesn't stop, I'm not going to say stop. You know, if I had the lead rope on, it'd be really easy to jerk her to a stop, right? I'm not going to do that because that would smash all those anxieties inside her. Instead, I'm going to say, well, okay, if you don't want to stop, I need you to go the other direction. Okay, so you get to keep moving your feet, which is what you want, because she feels anxiety, right? She needs to move her feet somewhere. But you're going to move your feet in the direction that I need you to move your feet. And oh, by the way, if you had just come to a stop, it probably would have been a lot easier. See, now she's starting to look for a place to stop. She's checking in with me like, hey, can I stop? A little bit better. Momentary rest. And ask her to go. There. And she goes. She's not going with near the explosiveness that she had earlier, right? Now I want you to start watching. Look at her body language, her feet, her legs, her torso, and her neck and head. But especially the way she's placing her feet. You notice how it's much more deliberate. Every foot is dun, dun. No, keep going. I didn't tell you to stop. Every foot is dut, 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 dut. It seems very placed compared to the way she's been traveling all up until now, which is very haphazard. It was just kind of, my body's got to go this way, so my legs are going to fly anywhere they have to do to get me there, right? This is how you want your horse to look. You want them to look, to actually place their feet specifically. She's destined to be a mountain horse. She's going to be packing elk and trailing all through the mountains. She especially needs to be exactly sure of where every footfall is going to be placed. It might not seem like having her run circles in this little pen is preparing her for mountain travel, but it is. Because if I'm going to pony her with a pack saddle on, or if I'm going to ride her in the mountains, this is how I need her traveling. All right, I'm going to ask her to stop. Okay, that's a little bit better. I'm going to ask her to go back to the right. Good, and she comes through that with her head nice and low, moves her shoulders over, and you can see she's still placing each foot very methodically. It's about the lowest I've seen her head while she's moving since she got here. Now she's starting to get a little lazy, so I'm actually going to do the kind of counterintuitive thing, and I'm actually going to ask her to trot up because I want to keep energy in her. And I don't want her always thinking that I want her to slow down. I want her thinking that she wants to slow down. So if I do the opposite, and you see how she slipped over there? Because she's no longer being methodical about her feet. See how now her feet are just flinging all over the place? That's why she slipped. I want her to get that methodicalness back. Okay, I'm going to ask her to stop. All right, that was a pretty good stop. Not bad at all. She gets a little rest, and she comes through. Good. She's really starting to think. I'm really, really liking this session. This session is probably the pivotal session right here, and I think it really all came from what I did not get on video, which sucks, but when she was standing over here a second ago, and I waited like 20 minutes for her to lick and chew, that got her into a mental state where she could start to learn. And then I came back in and we did that learning session where I got her to yield on both sides, and now her body is actually starting to work correctly. Okay, ask her to stop. There we go. Did you see how she went to speed up right there? Now, I don't love that her front feet spun in instead of her hind end disengaging out, but that's getting very technical. We'll get to that. Right now, I just like that she went ahead and yielded on that side, faced up. She's ready to go either direction. She's a little tense. She's a little off balance. You know, like I said, not perfect. But the improvement from the way we started out, especially the before part I didn't get on video, but the way we started out even just a few minutes ago versus the way she just did that turn right there is huge. So I'll probably wait for lick and chew now. And then I'll go see if my camera took a crap on this one too and didn't get this video. I sure hope it did, but we'll find out. Lots of twitching, and there's a lick and chew. That was an awesome session right there. That was really, really cool. You can mark that one down as probably the most important session that we'll have for a bit. Okay, continuing on day 5 with Braveheart. Just finished that fantastic session with Taya. Now, Braveheart's a very different horse from Taya. So this session will probably be very different. But we approach every session the exact same way. I don't know if you can see her. I don't think you, or him, sorry. I don't think you can see him in the video, but he's got his head down right now. He's looking and chewing. He's been watching the session that I had with Taya, and he's been very focused and just head down, looking and chewing, yawning a bunch. So he's in a very calm state. Now with him, I think it's going to be more of, if you will, imposing my will on him and getting him to realize that he's got to play ball with humans. I think he's very, very calm as long as everything's his idea, which is common, of course, for a horse that was probably a stud for quite a while. Now, this session, he's probably not going to want to do the things I'm wanting him to do, like run around in circles and focus and stop and go and stop and go. So I'm just going to bet that we have, he's in a very relaxed state, but this is kind of what I always talk about. It's not enough just to get your horse to relax. You can go out and feed your horse carrots and apples and goodies all day, and they're going to love to see you, and it's going to seem like they're very relaxed. But if you ever want to do anything with your horse that's not their idea, that's not enough. We have to get them focused and doing what we ask first, and then relaxed. Now, getting them focused and doing what we want is probably going to destroy the relaxation that we had before. So that's where we kind of are with Braveheart here. So he's set up to go to my right. I'm going to go ahead and send him to my left. He doesn't respond to that at all. Now, he started to go there, but I went ahead and got pretty big because he was very lethargical about it. He's like, yeah, I'll go when I want to go. I don't know if you could see that on the video, but see him tossing his head right there. He's like, nobody tells me what to do. See him tossing his head, very steady behavior. And so what I'm going to do about that is really not much. I'm just going to look at all that. I told you. So I'm just going to keep waving the flag when he does that stuff until it goes away. Until he's both trotting forward. He kind of stuck his hind end in at me right there, like he might want to kick me. Not like he was actually going to kick me there, but just in a dominant, like, hey, nobody tells me what to do. I tell other people what to do. There's a lick and a chew while he's going forward. Better. I'm going to go ahead and ask him to stop. So he's not really bad about it. There's lots and lots of horses that are way worse, but that is going to be the thing. If anybody gets hurt on this horse in the future, it will be because he thinks he runs the show and not the human. And that's the thing that we're going to have to get through on him. It's a good look and a chew right there. I could back off, but I really want to send him to the right here. So I love that he's focused. He ought to be able to go to the right pretty easily. Better. That was a little bit more. That's the stud next door being a brat, but this horse needs to focus and do what I'm asking regardless. Anyway, right there when he turned, he had a little bit less of that brattiness, like I'm gonna run the show. Like I said, that you can't see it on the camera, but our stud next door is running up to the fence, and so that's why he's shying away from this side. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but that horse, at the end of the day, he can't get into this pen. So Braveheart really doesn't need to worry about what that horse over there is doing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask him to stop. He caught the stop well, but he didn't face up at all. Ask him to go left. Need him to yield and go. I may get a larger flag next time because he has a pretty good reach with those hind feet, and I need him to go. I need this horse to move out when I ask him to move out. Ask him to stop. Ask him to go the other direction. So that right there, he kind of coming up to the camera right about there. That's where his feed trough is right below the camera. And he kind of went, you know, I think I'm sick of this. I think I'll go grab a bite to eat. It's like, dude, this is not fast food time. This is working time. At some point, you see all this head shaking he's doing, the way he's kind of turning his butt to me a little bit, the way it's hard to even kind of get him going. At some point, either on the ground or under saddle, somebody's going to have a big fight with this horse. It's either going to be me or somebody else. You probably would rather it be me. And if it's me, I would rather do it on the ground, right? I don't want to have a fight with this horse under saddle. He's a big dude. So, you know, hopefully it doesn't have to be too big of a fight. That's nice. It's a little bit better than before. You know, if we can keep making progress without having a fight, that would be great. But just reading his body language, and I think you can see it, I'm sure, in the camera. Somebody's probably going to have to explain to him who runs the show sooner or later. So, you can see right there, he gets through that turn and he starts to go, and he's like, I don't want to do that. Why would I do that? And he kind of has that thought right there. Ooh, should I fight instead of run? There could also be some pain issues. I don't ever try to, you know, attribute things to that first. I think this is mostly attitude, because he's not head bobbing. You know, I definitely don't think there's any pain in his front end. You know, there could be some back issues or something. And I do know with this steel fence in here, I think he's kicked the fence a few times, so he may have a little bit of pain in his back feet in some way. Or who knows, there could be some chiro type stuff up in his back, or he could just be, you know, he is very underdeveloped in his hips. It could just be hard for him to get up into that trot. But again, I just want to put out the possibility that there's some pain issues, because a lot of people watching this will say, oh, that's a pain thing. Okay, so what happened right there is he was standing all nice, and that stud came up on the other side of the fence. And that stud became a much bigger deal to this horse than me. Now, what happens if I'm holding this horse on the halter, or God forbid I'm on his back, and something else becomes a bigger deal to this horse than me like that? I'm going to get run over. If I was standing next to this horse and he decided to run through me, he would just run right through me, right? He has very little respect for my space. So what I did was I basically, you know, he decided to turn around and deal with what he thought was the important situation. And so I sent him the opposite direction. Well, he didn't notice it, obviously. Right there, he decided to go on his own, right? Because he's just trying to get away from that stud. Then he turns away, more pressure. So you see, it's not, with this horse, it's not a lack of communication. It's not that he doesn't know what to do. Every time I wave this flag, he's trying to act steady and say, hey! See that double barrel getting ready to go right there? Actually, not double barrel, it's just one. So I'm going to keep this flag going until he knocks that shit off. I'm not a fan of using constant pressure like this. Like if you're going around, that's a little bit better. Usually I say don't keep using the lunge whip or the flag as you're going around. However, if he's shaking his head at it and acting all steady, you don't want to take the pressure away like that there. There's a good looking at you. Good. I like that. I really thought he was going to turn his back to me there, but he didn't. Anyway, like I was saying, there's kind of three main things you got to work on. Fear, misunderstanding, miscommunication, or just not aggressiveness, but dominance, right? The horse thinking that they're in charge instead of the human. Obviously with Taya, it's fear. She's not trying to be dominant. She's not trying to, she knows what to do. It's not that she doesn't know. The main, and there's going to be a small amount of all three of those, but usually there's going to be one main thing. With Taya, it's fear. With Braveheart, it's dominance. So it's not a big deal. Every horse has the thing they need to work on. You just have to identify it. Now I like that. I like that he kind of rocked back. He's looking at me. He's waiting for my cue. This seems very, I don't want to say submissive, but like he's wanting to play ball right here. If I send him to the right, he goes nice and easily. Good. Good. I like the contrast. I'm okay with that. He ran away from that stud, but he didn't look like he was going to run over me that time. He found a way out of that situation without running over me and getting away from the stud, which I understand. Horses running at you like that, he's going to want to get away from it. He thought about stopping with his water bucket. I said, no, we're still working here. All right, I'm going to ask him to stop. Okay, he comes to a stop, but he didn't roll through. I'm going to ask him to go the other direction. Good. Good. Okay, that's an improvement. It's not ideal yet, right? But it's more face on than he was. Better. Again, notice this horse has one side that he's better at disengaging and facing up on than the other side, just like Taya, and it's normal. Most horses have one side. That's better. That was a little bit better. He's a little bit snappier there. Not quite as good as I'd like, but or he started out that turn a little snappier. When I pointed, he went to move faster, but then he kind of gave up on it. So I had to get bigger. See how he just kind of dies right there. He needs to respect the flag. I don't want him to be scared of the flag, but he needs to respect my space. He needs to respect my energy. If I'm telling him to go, he needs to move it a little bit. And that's what's going to ultimately keep me safe, because if he's moving away from me, he can't kick me, right? He either has to decide between flee or fight. If he's fleeing, he's moving his feet, and he can't kick because he's moving his feet. It requires feet to move, right? If so, there he was pooping, and I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's like, "Dude, wait for me to finish pooping. I don't have to move." And so I get bigger and bigger. Good. There he goes. Oh, okay, you're in charge. I get it. And there's a lick in the chew. So I don't want to beat this point to death, but you know, the thing with him is going to be trying to convince him that the human is in charge. And that's going to take a few fights. It's going to take a while. I think he's going to be really cool once he realizes that humans are in charge. But having been a stud a lot of his life, he's quite certain right now that he's in charge. And that perception is going to have to change before anything happens, you know, anything cool like going up to catch him or saddling or all those sorts of things. Working on body control, you know, I'm not going to go up around that hind end, moving his hind end over, moving shoulders over, desensitizing around the hind end, tarps, all those sorts of things. I'm not going to do any of those things until he realizes that I'm in charge, not him. All right, let's keep going. See, I'm getting pretty big with him. I would never get that big with Taya because it would blow her mind. But with him, it requires that just to get him off the X, right? Move off the X. See, and he doesn't really feel the need. Oh, that's a little bit better. The reason he's not wanting to face up is that he's not feeling any real need to get going quick. You know, it's like in basketball, right? If I'm guarding, if you have the ball and I'm guarding you, and I don't really give a crap about the game. Okay, let's say I'm being forced to play basketball and I don't really want to play. So I'm standing there like this, and you have the ball. You're going to run right around me, right? Because I'm not ready to go, because I don't care, right? But let's say that my life depends on winning this basketball game. This is the NCAA championship. We're right at the end of March. We're in March Madness. I'm going to be ready, right? I'm going to be, which way do I go? And you're going to have a much harder time getting around me. Same with this horse. If he thinks I might need to go that way or I might need to go that way, and I don't know which one, but I'm going to need to go quick, he's going to sit down on his haunches a little bit, right? He's going to lift his shoulders up. He's going to get ready. And when I say go somewhere, he's going to go. Right now, he's kind of like, whatever. I might go eventually. And so he's standing lock-kneed and just, you know, just the opposite of collection, the opposite of everything we want, right? And so the same thing, if he's coming around in the circle like this, and I ask him to stop, he goes, fine, I'll stop. He has no reason to face up and get ready, right? I'm not going to stop like this. If you have the basketball, you're just going to run around me that way. I'm going to stop like this and get ready for whichever way you're going to go. A little bit better. he's starting to move off my energy a little bit better. Hey, so this is the day 5 recording for Braveheart, and unfortunately I just finished my session, probably about another 20 minutes, and checked my phone and it didn't get recorded. I don't know what's going on with my phone. I think I get phone calls in the middle of the recording and it shuts off the recording and it ruins the video, and so I'm gonna have to fix that. But in the meantime, I'll talk about the session we just had because it didn't get recorded. So you can see Braveheart's pretty relaxed right now. Well, at the beginning of the session, he was even more relaxed than this. His head was super low. I had just finished working with Taya, who you can see across the fence there. And Braveheart had been like locked on to me, focused on me and Taya the entire time we were working, which was pretty cool. He was yawning a bunch. He was licking and chewing a bunch. He was just very tuned in and calm, and that was great. But what I said at the beginning of the session was, I don't think he's going to stay calm when I ask him to start going to work, when I ask him to do things. And it's not enough for a horse just to be calm. They have to be calm after we're asking them to do things. Unless you just want a pasture pet and you never want to do anything with your horse, but that's not the life that these guys are destined for. These guys are going to pack elk through the mountains and do trail rides and all sorts of things up in the mountains. So they need to be able to do what the human tells them to do, even if they don't want to do it, and stay calm through all of it. So went ahead and did my normal groundwork. I didn't do anything different. I just asked him to go, asked him to stop, asked him to go, asked him to stop. But the interesting thing was he's very dull. He's like, okay, fine, I'll go, And when he stopped, he's like, well, fine, I'll stop. But there's no reason to get set up because I don't need to go anywhere, And so what I did with him was I just got a lot bigger. I would ask him to go, and then I would get big and big and big and big and use the flag and make him have a little bit more oomph to get going. And that really helped. He finally, by the end, he was actually staying in a trot all the way around the pen off of my body language and not kind of getting stuck in corners and stuff like that. And then he was also stopping and facing up pretty good. So by the end of it, he faced up pretty good, waited for licking a chew, and that's actually exactly where he ended. I came out of the pen and started my camera back up, and he really hasn't moved since then. And you can see he's staying pretty calm now. So yeah, I always tell people you got to get your horse's focus, and they have to do the things you're telling them to do. Then they need to relax, and then you've got something. But if your horse is just relaxed, it doesn't really help much. So there's 3 primary things that a horse is going to struggle with, or that the struggles your horse has are going to be based on. Okay, one is fear, one is just miscommunication, and one is dominance issues. Okay, so Taya's, obviously, her number 1 thing is fear. That's what we've been working through. Number 2 is miscommunication. I don't think either of these guys have miscommunication. I think Stephanie's done a pretty good job of teaching them how to go and how to stop. And, my cues are slightly different, but they're learning my cues, and I think they know what to do. Braveheart's issue, though, is the 3rd one, the dominance issue. He is completely sure that he's in charge, right? He was a stud in the wild for quite a while, I'm sure. He is, even if he wasn't a stud, it doesn't really matter. Just his personality type, he thinks he runs the show, and he's quite happy to be around humans as long as he's running the show, and it's his decision. But the moment you really start asking him to do something that's not his decision, he's pretty mad about it pretty quick. Another thing, I'll spin the camera over here. So this stud over here was running at the fence and, just kind of being a jerk while Braveheart was going around. So sometimes Braveheart would be stopping over on this right side of the pen, and that stud horse would run up and, be all bravado, not doing anything. Like, he's on the other side of a pipe fence. He can't do anything. But a couple of times Braveheart would run away from that fence or shoulder away from it or whatever. And, you could just tell, like, if I had been a little bit closer to him, I would have gotten run over. Like, he had no issue about me being in that spot. So that's another thing. Like, he thinks, well, if I need to be in the spot you're standing in, I'm just gonna be in the spot, and you better get out of the way. And that's exactly not the way it's gonna work. So, one of the things I said during the session that didn't get recorded was, I think this horse and someone is going to need to have a pretty big fight at some point. And it could be on the ground, or it could be under saddle, and it might be me or it might be somebody else. But, I think the best case would be for it to be me and on the ground. Because I don't really want to do that fight from the saddle. But, it's possible it may not happen. Maybe we just continue going through groundwork, and he might just kind of learn slowly, hopefully. But I would not be surprised if there's some point where we have to have a pretty big fight with this horse, and show him that the humans are in charge and he needs to do what we say. And then everything will be nice again, and it'll actually help him a lot in the end to relax when he realizes that he's not in charge. He doesn't have to carry the burden of that leadership role, that humans do that. So but overall, a really great day on both of them. We made a lot of accomplishments with both, especially Taya, but Braveheart too. And unfortunately, I didn't get as much of it videoed as I wanted to, but I will go ahead and get these uploaded, what I do have. That was day 5. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, so this is day 5. I already trained some earlier today, but it was miserably cold and it was snowing, and then the sun came out, and I thought, man, I think I'll do a little bit more time with these Mustangs today. It just felt like a good day to do it. So I left my flag over there, so I grabbed this. Not a huge fan of this tool, but we'll see how it works. I may have to go grab the flag, but I'm going to try a different tool today and see how this goes. I like the focus that I'm getting. She's pretty well set up for both directions. I'm going to go ahead and ask her to go left. She's a little bit more set up to go right, but I love that her head's coming down a little bit. You can really tell all the work we did earlier is really paying off right here. She's much more focused, much less reactive, much less standoffish, less blocking me out. And she goes the correct direction. Good. It's kind of cool to see her coat glistening. It's like sparkling from the little bit of snow we just had. It's kind of melting on her back. Now notice how nice and low her head is as she's going around. That's beautiful right there. I'm going to ask her to stop, and as we've seen a few times, she speeds up through that stop. Now, I want to talk about that for a second, that speeding up through the stop. If you're riding her, like if I was to go ahead and cowboy up, catch her, which I'm sure I could do, and get the saddle on her and just get on her and start riding, that bolt right there would still be in there. So what I'm talking about is right here, right over on this side. I asked her to stop, and she got a little freaked out. She didn't quite know what to do. I think she knew to stop, but her first reaction was speed up and try to run through it. Well, if that's her initial reaction with how to deal with problems, when I'm sitting on her back, she's going to think that the way to deal with that problem is try to run away from it. Now, if I'm strapped to her back, hopefully I'm not going to fall off. So she's never going to get away from that, and she's just going to run herself until she runs herself out. And, a lot of people will break a horse that way. I don't break horses that way. I don't think that's very smart. I want to teach her on the ground to shut it down, come to a stop, focus, figure out the problem, and go where she needs to go. And that's what she figured out over here. I asked her to go in the new direction. She went faster. Then she slowed down and said, wait, faster is not the answer. Let me look for a different answer. Good. I'm just barely having to use my tool here. The cue is getting her to go. She just needs a little bit of backup from the lunge whip or the flag or whatever you happen to be carrying. Really like how she's going around right here. You can see her body's in that nice C shape. What I mean by the C shape is her hips are a little bit to the inside, her shoulders a little to the outside, and her face is nice and curved to the inside. She's got that ear focused on me, head's below her withers. It's really cool to see the transformation. Good. Really cool to see the transformation just from this morning. And, I think the weather has helped us out a little bit with that too, to make this transformation really dramatic, because it was a pretty nasty day earlier. Windy, cold, snowy, and all of a sudden the sun came out, the wind quit, it got warm, and their attitudes, I think, changed a lot. And we're going to use that to our advantage to help her see wrong thing hard, right thing easy. Love how she's checking in. I'm going to go ahead and stop her. Good. Now she overcorrected that time, so I'm going to send her back to the left. Good. Okay, I'm going to ask her to stop. Good. She overcorrected. I'm going to send her back to the left again. Pretty soon she'll realize overcorrecting really doesn't help her, because she just has to go right back to work. Ask her to stop. There. Much better. She tried that twice. She thought, oh, every time you ask me to stop, you're going to ask me to go the other way. I'll just preemptively go the other way. I said, no, that's not how this works. Now, I didn't get mad at her, right? Because she's looking for the answer, and I love that. I want to reward her looking for the answer. But I just said, no, going the other way, you're just going to have to go back this way. And finally, she faced up and said, I'm ready to go whichever direction you tell me to go. I love it. Okay, she's a little bit set up for going left, so I'm going to ask her to go right. She starts to think. Going the wrong way, and she turns her butt to me. It's a little bit of pressure here. That was a tough one right there. And she overcorrects and goes the wrong way. I'm going to ask her to go here. So she thinks that she's got the game figured out now, and she thinks she can play the game without having to focus on me. She thinks that she can block me out, and she's got enough of the cues figured out that she can play the game. What she doesn't realize is she doesn't. The game is focusing on me and being ready, because I'm just going to change the game, or I'm going to change what I ask her to do every time if she overcorrects or tries to preemptively anticipate what I'm going to ask. I'm just going to ask something different. She got a little too much in my space that time, so I kind of just brought the stick up just a little bit and say, hey, get out of my space. Don't run over me. Better. Ooh, I like that. This is night and day different than it was just about 2 hours ago. It's very cool to see how quickly she's coming along. And it's probably all thanks to Stephanie. She's probably already done a lot of the difficult work on this, and I'm just kind of reestablishing myself, with the same authority that Stephanie had probably already set up. So, I'm not trying to say that, oh, look at me, look how fast I can get this groundwork done. Okay, so she's in that unstable state now. There's some good blinking. Remember, we've talked about it before, but the unstable state is when all 4 feet are on the ground, planted, and they're looking at you. She's very focused, right? She would be ready to go either direction I told her to go, but she's not relaxed yet. Okay, that's kind of the definition of the unstable state. Now, she's not going to stay in this mental state forever, right? She's either going to choose to walk away, That's rebalancing. That's good. That's part of that unstable state. Is a lot of times they're going to be physically unbalanced. They're going to balance themselves up physically. That's what she started to do there. And she's either going to choose a coping mechanism like walking away, or she's going to choose relaxation. And it's up to her. Just like me with my wife, I can't tell my wife, relax right now. It doesn't work very well, right? If you're married, you know that. But what I can tell this horse, or I can put this horse in a situation where we eliminate options. And if we leave open an option of relaxing, she might choose to relax. And then if we reward that relax over and over, she'll find that relaxation easier and more often, and we can build on that. But I just have to wait until she finds that relaxation. Good. Look at how she rebalanced her body. Look how much more balanced her body is right there than it was 15 seconds ago. Excellent. Tons of twitching in the bottom lip and in the nostrils. She's going to lick and chew pretty quick. It may be a while. I mean, she's a horse that takes a long time to lick and chew. And sometimes those make the best horses. They're very stoic. They're a little stubborn. But they can make the best horses, but it does take a long time. It takes a lot of patience. You just have to stand here and wait. There's a lot of blinking going on, a lot of twitching. Kind of the rule of thumb is if you see twitching in the muzzle, just wait. Even if their focus leaves. Like if her feet leave, put her back to work. But if her focus leaves, it's going to come back. Or her feet are going to leave, and then you'll put her back to work. But if you see twitching, just wait for the lick and chew, assuming their feet stay still. I love how her head's starting to come down. Love how she's kind of going to sleep. She's blinking a lot. Bottom lip's twitching a ton. It's starting to hang down lower than her top lip a little bit. This is really good. She's starting to actually get comfortable with me in here. Starting to trust that all she needs to pay attention to is if I ask her to do something. Right there, she got a little distracted. She went into alert mode. Her brain said, alert, alert. And she looks over at something, and then she goes, no, I don't need to. Remember earlier today, I think it got on video, or definitely the last couple days, I think the video where we were in the stall, I think there was a good example of this. Her brain had her on alert about 99% of the time. And about 1% of the time, the other side of her brain took over and she was able to lower her head, relax, but then it popped right back into alert, right? It lasted just a fraction of a second, that relaxation and drop in her head. Now, if you look at her, she's not completely relaxed, but she's staying in this non-alert stage, I'd say 75% of the time, maybe 99% of the time. When she alerted a second ago, it only lasted a second or two. And she came right back to this non-alert mode. Really cool. I think it's off video, but Braveheart's over there doing a bunch of big sighs and licks and chews and hanging his head low. you almost have two horses that are on opposite ends of the spectrum. You got Taya, who's too reactive and too scared and, you know, too flighty. And then you've got Braveheart, who's almost the exact opposite. He's too dull, not reactive enough. You can barely get him to move. But like I've said the whole time, horses are all about balancing. It really doesn't matter what side of any issue the horse is imbalanced to. The job of the trainer and a rider and anyone who's going to interact with that horse, their job is to just balance it up. So as you can see, Taya here is, oh, she might lick and chew pretty quick. Good. There's a nice lick and chew. What I was going to say is Taya's almost going to sleep before she licks and chews. And I was going to talk about that for a second. This is kind of just a theory. I have not proven this scientifically or read about it anywhere in any studies, but just from observation and logic, I would say when a horse goes to sleep like that before licking and chewing, what it tells me is they're probably not getting very good sleep at night. They're going into a nap phase and getting sleep, but they're not truly relaxed while they're sleeping. And so I believe that when you finally get a horse, which she's almost there, to where they learn to relax and let go and lick and chew without having to go into that sleep mode first, you're going to get a horse that sleeps a lot better at night, right? And if they're sleeping better at night, we know from human research, and I'm pretty sure horses are the same way, that when a horse is sleeping better, they're going to retain information better. Their brain is able to learn. Not only is their brain able to learn things, it's also able to erase things. So, you know, every Mustang out there has had a traumatic past by definition of being a Mustang, partly from the wild, but also from, I'm going to go ahead and move this down to Braveheart's pen, partly from being in the wild, but especially from being rounded up with a helicopter, usually put into pens, put into working pens, run through chutes, they get their shots and stuff. I mean, that's a traumatic experience for a horse. And they need to be able to delete those memories, right? They have some pretty bad, harsh memories associated with humans that they need to be able to delete. And then they need to be able to rewrite good memories. All of that happens during sleep. And if your horse is not getting good sleep, they're not able to do all that stuff. And so I believe, like, we just got to the point maybe today where Taya might get some really good sleep tonight. She's at that point. Probably next couple days, we'll really get to that point where she'll get good sleep. And I think we'll see a pretty monumental shift in her in the next couple days because of that. So just something to keep in mind. One thing that I've been wanting to do that I have not yet is buy a heart rate and sleep monitor for horses that I can put on these horses and study this and actually, you know, document what I do with them during the day and then how they sleep at night, and see if I can document any changes in that, because right now it's just a theory. So, all right, changing gears to Braveheart. So this horse, it's much more about that dominance issue, showing him, hey, you need to do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it. He's set up sort of to go left, not really to go anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and send him to the right. Ask, bring up my energy, and he turned his butt to me, which it already sort of was. I'm going to get him to move off. Okay. Much better, by the way, than earlier. Even when that whip kind of lightly tapped his butt there, he moved away from the pressure. He didn't get mad about the pressure. Much better than before. All right. He didn't really take that stop cue very well. He stopped, but he didn't roll through. That was much better too. Now he's trying to get stuck in that corner, so I'm going to put some more pressure on here. A little bit of attitude there. Not the end of the world. One lesson I've learned in the past is in this size of a pen. I love working in this size of pen, but there's not a lot of room. And so it really forces me, so the lesson I learned is if I get too big too quick, the horses don't have anywhere to go and they shut down. And then I have to get bigger and I end up just whapping on horses, just beating on them and trying to get them to move, and they just get stuck in corners and shut down. And what I learned is if I stay much smaller, I can get a bigger reaction out of the horse with just a small, like right here. See, by staying small and never even touching that horse, I got him to do what I needed him to do. And I save that bigger push if I really, really need it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's just something that I've learned through experience. And it's been a good learning lesson for me because the smaller you stay with your cues, but as long as you still get the same response, the better. We want, especially once we get to riding, but we want our horses to be responsive to as small a cue as possible from us and as least responsive to other stimulus in the world as possible. Good. I like how he got out of the way. He's kind of cut in the corner over here, falling in on me, slowing down. I want him to get off of that pressure a little bit. That was much better. Offer him the stop. Most horses, I would be happy for them to be walking because most horses are running around crazy at the trot. With him, good, I like how he's setting himself up there. With him, I'm going to kind of keep him trotting today at least because he tends to just die and get real dull. And when he's in the trot, I know it's forcing him to put a lot of energy into it. When he's at the walk, he's able to dissociate and kind of forget about me and say, whatever. You see how he doesn't like it also, and that's partly why I'm doing it. So the big thing I'm after right now is when he stops, I need him to face up, but the reason the reason that I'm going to give him to face up is that it'll be easier for him to come through the next direction. So I need him to be snappier going the next direction, but it's not just so that he'll be snappy, it's so that he'll face up better there. I'm trying to help him learn how to not create problems for himself, because the way he's stopping right now is creating a problem for himself. He doesn't know it yet. That was a little bit better. His stop was better, but then he was super lazy coming through. He's like, well, I'm already set up. Why do I need to put any energy into it? We are making progress. That was snappier. Now, there was also some anxiety associated with it. Remember, I said we have to, we're going to have to give up a little bit of the relaxation to get the focus and the snappiness and the obedience, if you will. And then the relaxation will come back after that. Better. Ooh, now that's a change right there. It wasn't quite the body configuration that I want. I want him to end up in that spot by disengaging the hind end. But right now, again, that's just details. We're not going to get wound up in details just yet. What I want him to learn is that if he'll get faced up and be ready to go both directions, it'll be a lot easier. And then later on, I can tweak exactly how he faces up. But for now, that was really good. Now, going left should be easier for him. And it was. Good. And he totally didn't catch that. So I put quite a bit more pressure because he turned his butt to me. Now what I did like is this stud horse over here that was messing with him earlier and causing him to jump on top of me. Patron did the same thing, took the same action, but Braveheart wasn't nearly as bad as before. Before, he'd kind of jumped on top of me and kind of got into my space, right? This time he stayed over there. You could tell he was a little concerned about it, but he dealt with that concern over there and didn't try to jump on top of me. So I really liked that. Asked for the stop. He stopped good. He didn't exactly. More pressure. He stopped good, but he decided to turn his butt. So he was working pretty good when he was relaxed, right? But we asked for that little bit more, and the relaxation went away. He got anxiety, and now he's turning his butt, and we broke everything, right? Creative destruction. We have to break things to get good. So he's going to figure out pretty quick here. There. Now look at that. Okay, if you watch that back, or maybe you caught it that time, he moved because the stud horse came up, and when I pointed the opposite direction, he said, oh, let me forget about what I want to do. I know I need to do what he told me to do. That was good. That stop earlier that I was talking about, he actually stepped over with that inside hind foot. If you look at his left hind foot during that stop that he just did earlier, it actually stepped under him a little bit. Now, he kind of almost tripped on it. It wasn't very loose. It wasn't very good, but it was something at least, okay? At least something to build on. That was not very good at all. He didn't really come to a stop. He wasn't set up. He was blocking me out, asked for the other direction, and he just turned around and went went towards the fence. So he had lots of pressure. It's no big deal. He started to stop pretty good on that side, and he's starting to come through pretty good. It took very little effort from me to get a nice big reaction from him. That was quite good. This is his bad side. Ooh, that was a little bit better. Now he overcorrected, but he's really thinking, look at him licking and chewing there. He's like, how can I make this easier on myself? I really like that. I could send him either direction here because he is overcorrected. I think we talked about this earlier. I want to reward him for at least trying. He overdid it, but he tried, so I want to reward that. But I also want to send him the opposite direction the way he's set up. So you have kind of two competing training philosophies or principles here. I'm going to center myself up in the pen a little bit, give him a fair shot, and I'm going to go ahead and send him left. I think he's going to have a hard time with this. See, he wants to go right. I knew he would. And then he turns his butt to me. So isn't that crazy? He was set up to go left, but something about it, I could feel he wasn't going to go that direction. And I asked him to go, and he went 270 degrees all the way around the other direction just to avoid going the way he was already set up to go. That was floaty. That was pretty cool. Totally missed that, but he turned to correct. So that was kind of a make the right thing easy moment. Totally missed that stop, but he came through his turn good. Just like with Taya, this is such a huge improvement from earlier, in the sense that he's going, when I say go, with very little hesitation, with very little encouragement from me. He's not getting stuck in corners. He's not throwing his head near like he was earlier. He holds his head a little weird. I don't particularly like the way he holds his head, and I do wonder if that's some pain or some sort of chiropractic or massage issue or something like that. I don't know. It may just be just body work, just stuff we need to work through in the way he carries himself, and we need to loosen things up. But he's just playing ball way better than he was. See, like right there, he thinks through it. He doesn't get mad. He thinks through it. That's beautiful. There's a lick and a chew. He's like, oh, that worked. I just thought through it and nothing bad happened. Now that was a little bit tough for him because he was thinking about Patron. And I knew he was thinking about Patron. And so when I asked him to stop, he didn't catch it because he was looking over there. Same thing right here. He caught that better. And so then by the time he realized that I was asking him to stop, I was already asking him to go the other direction, and it freaked him out and he had to turn towards the fence. So this is all getting him to learn to focus on me, not the other things out there. And this is what's going to help you stay safe. If you're riding out there and you see a big old moose or a bear or a mountain lion or something, you know, he may be scared of it, and rightfully so. I would be. But he needs to continue listening to you for his directions, even when he's scared about something, and not get so totally focused on the thing that's scaring him that he forgets to react to the human cues. So this is going to directly keep you safe out there. That was good. I want you to watch that back. Look at that inside left hind foot. He stepped over. Now, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a ton. Eventually, I'd like a lot more. I'd like him to step through and actually face up. But again, reward the try. That was pretty cool. Now, he's been working so good for me. I think I'm going to wait right here for a lick and a chew, which probably will come pretty quick with him. He's pretty free with those licks and chews, especially compared to Taya, compared to some of the other horses I've trained over the years. And I'm kind of just rewarding him for really trying hard. He's tried hard this session, and he has improved a significant amount this session. And you can see that head starting to come down a little bit. There's lick and a chew. That's a good day right there. Got a lot more done today than I thought we would. Very, very cool. All right, so that really is the end of day 5. Not the fake end like it was earlier. I will see you guys tomorrow on day 6.